Welcome, writers. So today is the day you are going to be drafting your graphic novel. How do you do this? All right, first of all, you're going to be using a pencil and you are going to draw in your panels on your page. If you're doing this digitally, it's going to look a little bit different. I'm going to be showing you how to do this in your notebook. Those of you who are doing it digitally, stay tuned. I'll talk about that. So once you draw in your panels lightly with your pencil, you got to make sure that your panels are large and your gutters are narrow. The gutters are the space in between the panels. Then, once you have your panels drawn, you can lightly pencil in your artwork. And then, of course, any of your writing, speech bubbles, and balloons and captions. And then you're just going to repeat that until you have your layout transferred into your draft. Okay, now let me just tell you a little bit about the process of drawing a graphic novel. So the first part, drawing, is where, after you lay out your panels and you're drawing in the characters, you might want to leave these characters' faces blank because you could come back in a little bit later and draw in like their faces. As long as it looks like their faces are facing the right way, you have them how you like them in the frame, that might be a good option to come back in a little later and draw in the specific faces. Then you want to do some lettering. You notice this is all done in pencil. That's for a reason. So it's easy to erase if you make a mistake. Only once you are finished with the drawing and the lettering, you have everything how you like it, can you do the inking part. That's where you trace over what you drew in pencil with a pen. Okay, this is very important. Do not start with a pen. I cannot tell you how much you will regret that decision. Start with a pencil, trace it in lightly, and then when everything looks good, then and only then do you go through and ink and add in some extra details, and that's going to make your comic really start to pop. And then finally, the last step is coloring. Again, I cannot stress enough to do this in pencil, lightly. Some pro tips that are going to help you. I'm going to be giving you a panel template tool to help you make even size panel. So that's what it looks like, this panel template tool. This is sized so that you can use it for your graphic novel in your notebook. And I've also given the dimensions. So let's say I'm able to print this out at my house as I have a printer here. I'm lucky to have one. Many of you don't have one. I've given you some dimensions. You could just take, some cardboard that you have, maybe a cereal box. This would be perfect for that. And then see if you have a ruler and measure out these sizes and create your own templates. Okay, this is something you're going to trace around over and over and over again. Okay, if you don't have a ruler, stay tuned. I will help you out with this. But this is going to be really save your bacon because you're going to be able to draw evenly sized panels. Very important to make your speech balloons much bigger than you think you need to. It will help you later with lettering. Pro tip here, actually, my husband says that you should really, really tiny draw in your words first and then create the bubble around it. That's usually a lot better. That way your balloons are always fit. Make sure that your people are big and fill the space. Don't leave lots of white space. You got to find a balance here. All right, so the first step here is I want to take a look at my layout. So my page one, I've chosen to do a splash page here. So that's one big giant panel, and it's usually to set up the scene here. And so since I know in my book map it said it's the first day of school, and I'm going to have Elvia coming in and asking if she can sit next to Natalie, I got to draw my splash page. So I'm going to use my template tool that I was lucky enough to be able to print out here. And I'm just going to trace around it. This is what it's for. They're like little things that you can trace around, and it makes it a lot easier for me to have like an evenly drawn panel. And then you can see my gutters, that's the space that's around, are pretty even right there. I don't have to worry about measuring anything or drawing with a ruler. It's already right there and it's really easy. Okay, So now my next step is, now that I've drawn in my panel, is I'm going to start sketching in this scene. So I know from my layout that there are the two characters in the scene. I kind of have Elvia here coming in the door. I'm going to have a doorway here, I think, actually. And then there's going to be Natalie. She's sitting down at like the table there. So I'm going to start with, I think, drawing in Natalie. And also I think I'm going to draw in like an extra chair over here. Maybe I'll just show a chair over there. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. Fast forward through some of the drawing that I'm doing here. As you can see, I'm using a pencil. I really want to try and go very lightly over there and drawing in my characters. If I make a mistake, I make sure to use my eraser and go back in through and draw it again. And that's why we use a pencil. It's really important. I know a lot of you really enjoy using the pen to do some drawings, but trust me, use the pencil for this. Draw it lightly. And then you can go back through and from that point, make any changes, okay? So here after a while, this is kind of what it looked like. As you can see, I've drawn in both of my characters. I've drawn in some stuff that sort of helps to establish the setting that we're in a school, a clock, like a smart board, maybe the name of the teacher, and then I'm gonna maybe add some little details maybe to the clothes, maybe make these look more like lockers out here. And then I'm almost done kind of filling in. If you'll notice, I'm actually making sure that these characters are nice and big. They're not too big, right? I have enough room to like add in other details, but they are allowing me enough space so that I can add my speech bubbles. I want to share with you kind of what I do for the layout. So as you can see here, I'm back to my layout. And here I have chosen sort of like this leading up to an important event panel set up. So this layout, I have 3 small panels on top and 1 larger panel below. So just to show you what I did to be able to draw that panel, again, I have my template tool so I can trace around. I did the large one below and then I did the smaller one, lined it up with the larger one, and traced around it, and then did the other side, lined it up, traced around it, and then I was able to center it in the middle and trace around it. Those template tools are super helpful. And then again, I'm able to jump in there with my drawing really nice and neatly, adding in my dialogue. Again, I think I have to go back there and fix those call outs, but that's what you do. What do you do to complete this draft? Well, using your pencil, follow the first page of your layout and lightly draw on the panels. Make sure your panels are large and your gutters are narrow. Fill your panels lightly in with that penciled artwork. Add those speech or thought balloons and captions. And then just keep repeating this process until you've done your whole draft. I cannot stress enough my big pro tips to use a template tool to trace around the panels. Make sure that you're making those speech bubbles larger. Make sure your people are pretty big and filling the space, and don't leave lots of white space. Don't leave like big little tiny characters. Draw bigger characters. And probably most of all, I would say, do not ink this yet.